Jake Morrison straightened his dark blue uniform and checked his notes one last time. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber stood before him like the entrance to another world. Behind those doors waited representatives from 12 different alien species, each more advanced than humanity could ever hope to be. At least that was what everyone believed. Lisa Hayes stood beside him, her tablet displaying the presentation they had worked on for months. She was nervous but tried not to show it. Her job was simple: support Jake during what would probably be the most important speech any human had ever given to aliens. The weight of representing all of Earth pressed down on both of them. The doors opened with a soft hiss. The chamber beyond was enormous, bigger than any building on Earth. Curved walls rose up in levels, creating a bowl shape that could hold thousands of beings. Strange lights floated in the air without any visible support. The air itself seemed to shimmer with colors that human eyes had never seen before. Jake walked toward the center podium, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. Above him and around him, the alien representatives watched from their designated areas. The Viridians looked like living crystals, their bodies reflecting light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. The Netherians floated in tanks of glowing gas, their forms constantly shifting and changing. The Karathi appeared to be made of metal and circuits, with glowing eyes that never blinked. Other species filled the remaining spaces. Some looked almost like insects but the size of elephants. Others resembled plants that had learned to walk and think. A few were so strange that Jake could not even begin to describe them. All of them had one thing in common. They had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, while humans had only managed it for less than 50. Jake reached the podium and activated the translation device. His words would be converted into forms that every species present could understand. He looked up at the assembled beings and began to speak. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "I am Ambassador Jake Morrison, speaking for the human species of Earth. We come before you today with a request that we believe will benefit all members of this council." A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the alien representatives. The Viridian Prime speaker, whose crystal body sparkled like a rainbow, leaned forward slightly. The sound she made was like wind chimes, but the translator converted it to words. "Human Morrison," she said, "we are always pleased to hear from new species. Please, continue with your request." Jake felt encouraged by her polite tone. He activated his presentation, and holographic images appeared in the air around him. The images showed human ships, human weapons, and human soldiers. "The Void Seekers have attacked 17 worlds in the past 6 months," Jake continued. "Each attack has left entire planets stripped of life. Your fleets have fought bravely, but the enemy continues to advance. We humans offer our military forces to join your advanced defense coalition and help stop this threat." The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then, somewhere in the upper levels, a sound began. It started as a low rumble from the insect-like Zephyrians. The plant creatures of the Sylvan Collective made a rustling noise that sounded like leaves in a strong wind. Even the normally serious Karathi made mechanical clicking sounds that their species used for laughter. Soon the entire chamber was filled with alien laughter. The sound was strange and disturbing, nothing like human laughter, but its meaning was clear. Jake felt his face grow hot with embarrassment. The Karathi delegate, known as Unit 47, spoke first. Its voice was flat and emotionless, but the words cut deep. "Human Morrison, we have reviewed your species' technological capabilities. Your ships move slower than our cargo vessels. Your weapons are based on explosive chemicals and metal projectiles. Your defensive systems consist of metal plates. These are technologies that most Council species abandoned thousands of years ago." A massive 6-armed creature that Jake recognized as Council Leader Vorthon pounded his ceremonial staff on the floor. The laughter died down, but Jake could still see amusement in the alien faces around him. "Human Morrison," Vorthon said, his voice booming through the chamber. "We appreciate your enthusiasm. However, the Advanced Defense Coalition requires members with significant military capabilities. Perhaps in another century or two, when your species has had time to develop more advanced technologies, you might consider applying again." The Viridian Prime speaker added her own comment. "Your offer is brave, but the Void Seekers destroy our most advanced warships with ease, ships that carry weapons capable of burning entire continents. What could your primitive vessels possibly accomplish against such power? Jake felt his presentation crumbling around him. Everything he had prepared seemed worthless now. The aliens were not being cruel, but their dismissal was complete. In their eyes, humans were children playing with toys, while adults faced real dangers. Lisa stepped forward and whispered in his ear, "Sir, we have an incoming priority message from Earth Command." Jake nodded and activated his communicator. The message was brief, but shocking. Admiral Pete Collins appeared on the small screen, his face grim. "Jake, 3 more worlds went dark in the past 6 hours. Kepler 442b, New Geneva, and Prosperity Station. No survivors, no signals, nothing. The Void Seekers are moving faster than ever." The transmission ended, leaving Jake staring at the blank screen. He looked up at the alien representatives, who had heard every word through the translation system. Their amusement had faded, replaced by concern and fear. "Honored representatives," Jake said quietly. "I understand your position. We will withdraw our request and return to Earth, but please consider this. While you debate the value of primitive weapons, entire worlds are dying. Perhaps sometimes the simple answer is better than the complex one." He gathered his materials and walked toward the exit, Lisa beside him. Behind them, the chamber buzzed with urgent conversations in dozens of alien languages. The Void Seekers were advancing, and the galaxy's most advanced civilizations seemed powerless to stop them. As the massive doors closed behind them, Jake wondered if humanity would ever get another chance to prove itself. He had no way of knowing that chance would come sooner than anyone expected. Captain Alex Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and stared at the tactical display. 3 red dots marked the locations where human colonies had simply vanished overnight. No distress calls, no debris fields, nothing but empty space, where thriving worlds had existed just days before. Earth Command had ordered all human ships to stay away from the affected areas, but Alex had never been good at following orders when people were dying. "Captain," Dr. Maria Santos called from her science station, "I'm reading something very strange from Kepler 442b. The planet is still there, but the energy signatures are completely wrong." Alex nodded toward his communications officer. "Lieutenant Brooks, any response from the surface?" "Nothing, sir. Not even automated systems. It's like the entire planet just went silent." In the back of the bridge, Marine Colonel Ryan Burke checked his equipment one more time. His men were ready for anything, or at least anything they could imagine. The truth was that nobody knew what the Void Seekers actually were. They appeared without warning, attacked without communicating, and left nothing behind but empty worlds. "Take us in, Helm," Alex ordered. "Nice and slow. If anything looks dangerous, we jump out immediately." The Defiance moved toward Kepler 442b at quarter speed. Through the main view screen, the planet looked normal at first. It was still the right size and color, still orbiting its star in the correct pattern. But as they got closer, details began to emerge that made everyone on the bridge feel sick. The continents were wrong. Where green forests and blue oceans should have been, geometric patterns spread across the surface like a virus made of metal and flesh. Straight lines cut through what had once been mountain ranges. Perfect circles replaced lakes. The patterns pulsed with a faint light that hurt to look at. "My God," Dr. Santos whispered. "The entire planet has been converted into some kind of machine." "Converted from what?" Alex asked. "From everything. Plants, animals, people, even the soil and rocks. It's all been transformed into this new material. The energy readings suggest it's still alive somehow, but it's not alive in any way we understand." Colonel Burke stepped up to the captain's shoulder. "Sir, my Marines are trained for combat, but this is beyond anything in our experience. How do you fight something that can convert an entire planet?" Before Alex could answer, the ship's alarm began to sound. Lieutenant Brooks called out from his station, "Captain, sensors are detecting movement in the upper atmosphere. Something big is coming up from the surface." The view screen showed shapes rising from the converted planet below. At first they looked like ships, but as they got closer, it became clear that they were something far stranger. They seemed to be alive, constantly changing shape and color. Metal flowed like water across their surfaces. What might have been weapons or sensors appeared and disappeared without warning. "How many?" Alex asked. 12 contacts, sir." "No, wait, now it's 15. They keep splitting apart and joining back together." Dr. Santos worked frantically at her console. Captain, the energy signatures from those ships match the material on the planet's surface. I think they're made from the same converted matter. The alien ships moved in patterns that made no sense. They would accelerate to impossible speeds, then stop instantly without any visible means of propulsion. They surrounded the Defiance, but made no aggressive moves. Yet. Are they trying to communicate? Alex asked. No, sir. They're scanning us, but not with any technology I recognize. It's like they're trying to understand what we're made of. Colonel Burke checked his sidearm and grimaced. Captain, if those things can convert an entire planet, what chance do we have with conventional weapons? Before Alex could answer, one of the alien ships moved directly in front of the Defiance. A beam of strange energy reached out from it toward the human vessel. Where the beam touched the ship's hull, the metal began to change. It became softer, more fluid, and started to take on the same geometric patterns they had seen on the planet. They're trying to convert us too, Dr. Santos shouted. All power to the engines. We need to get out of here now. But Alex had noticed something important. The conversion beam was having trouble with their ship. The metal was changing, but very slowly, much slower than it should have been based on what they had seen happen to entire worlds. Wait, he said. Why is it taking so long? They converted a whole planet in hours, but they can't handle one ship? Dr. Santos checked her readings again. The fusion reactor, sir. It's putting out electromagnetic interference that seems to be disrupting their beam. It's like our primitive technology is causing problems for their advanced systems. The alien ship increased the power of its beam, but the interference from the human reactor got stronger too. Suddenly, there was a flash of light, and the beam cut out completely. The converted sections of the Defiance's hull returned to normal metal. Did we just repel a Void Seeker attack? Colonel Burke asked in amazement. On the view screen, the alien ship seemed confused. They moved in tighter circles around the human vessel, scanning it repeatedly. It was as if they had never encountered anything like this before. Alex made a decision that would change the course of the war. Instead of running away, he turned to his weapons officer. Lieutenant Chen, target the lead alien ship with everything. We have. Railguns, missiles, point defense cannons, everything. Sir, our weapons are primitive compared to their technology. That might be exactly what we need. Fire. The Defiance unleashed its full arsenal. Railgun rounds traveling at incredible speed slammed into the lead alien ship. Nuclear missiles followed, detonating in brilliant flashes. Even the small-point defense guns opened fire, sending streams of metal bullets toward the enemy. The alien ship tried to adapt its defenses, but something was wrong. Its hull, which should have been able to absorb or deflect any attack, began to buckle under the impact of simple kinetic weapons. The nuclear explosions, primitive by galactic standards, tore holes in its converting armor. It's working, Doctor. Santos called out excitedly. Their adaptive systems are designed to counter energy weapons and advanced particle beams. They don't know how to handle basic explosive and kinetic attacks. The alien ship broke apart, its living metal scattering in all directions. The other ships immediately turned their attention to the pieces, trying to collect and rebuild their fallen comrade. This gave the Defiance the opening it needed. Target the next ship, Alex ordered. Keep firing until they're all destroyed or they retreat. One by one, the alien ships fell to human weapons. Technology that the Galactic Council had dismissed, as primitive proved devastatingly effective against enemies that had destroyed the most advanced fleets in the galaxy. The final alien ship, damaged and alone, retreated back to the converted planet below. Colonel Burke watched the tactical display with growing excitement. Captain, we just did something that no one else in the galaxy has managed to do. We hurt them. Alex nodded, but his expression remained serious. Get me a secure channel to Earth Command. Admiral Collins needs to see this combat data immediately. As the Defiance prepared to jump back to human space, Dr. Santos made one final scan of the battle area. The debris from the destroyed alien ships was already beginning to dissolve, returning to whatever strange realm the Void Seekers came from. But the important thing was that they could be destroyed. Sir, she said quietly, I think we just discovered something that might save the galaxy. These aliens have technology so advanced that it can't handle primitive attacks. They've evolved beyond the ability to defend against simple weapons. Alex looked at the converted planet one more time before giving the order to jump. Somewhere, Down there, the remnants of human colonies lay transformed into alien machinery. But now, for the first time since the attacks began, there was hope for revenge. Admiral Pete Collins stared at the combat footage for the 10th time in 2 hours. Each viewing made the impossible seem more real. On his screen, the UES Defiance engaged and destroyed an entire Void Seeker formation using weapons that the Galactic Council considered obsolete. Railguns and nuclear missiles had accomplished what energy cannons and particle beams could not. Dr. Emma Wright sat across from him, her laptop displaying analysis data that challenged everything the scientific community believed about advanced warfare. She had been working for 18 hours straight, but her excitement kept her alert. "Admiral, the energy signatures don't lie," she said, pointing to a graph on her screen. "The Void Seeker ships have adaptive shielding that learns to counter any energy-based attack within minutes. But kinetic weapons and chemical explosives follow chaotic patterns that their systems can't predict or adapt to." Admiral Collins rubbed his tired eyes. "How is that possible? These aliens can convert entire planets, but they can't handle a bullet?" "Think of it like this, sir. Their technology is so advanced that it expects other advanced technology. It's like a master chess player losing to a child who doesn't know the rules and makes random moves. The alien systems keep trying to find the pattern, but our weapons don't have patterns to find." The Admiral's communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. The face of Council Leader Vorthan appeared on the screen, his 6 arms moving in what Dr. Wright recognized as signs of distress among his species. "Admiral Collins, we have received disturbing reports about human vessels engaging Void Seeker forces. We require immediate clarification of these actions." Admiral Collins straightened in his chair. "Council Leader, our ships acted in self-defense when attacked by Void Seeker vessels. The engagement was successful, with no human casualties." "Successful?" Vorthan's voice carried disbelief. "Human vessels destroyed Void Seeker ships? This seems highly improbable." Dr. Wright leaned forward and activated her data display. "Council Leader, I can provide you with complete sensor logs and analysis if you wish to review them." There was a long pause before Vorthan responded. "Send the data immediately. We will convene an emergency analysis team." After the transmission ended, Admiral Collins turned back to Dr. Wright. "How many more reports like this have we received?" 4 more successful engagements in the past 12 hours, sir. Commander Sam Mitchell's squadron developed new tactics at the Proxima station. They used conventional explosives to break up Void Seeker formations, then closed to point-blank range with kinetic bombardment. The Admiral pulled up the tactical reports on his screen. Each engagement told the same story. Human forces using simple, direct weapons to achieve victories that had eluded the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. "What about our losses?" he asked. "Minimal, sir. The USS Hartford took some damage when a Void Seeker beam partially converted their outer hull, but the crew managed to reverse the process by overloading their reactor and creating an electromagnetic pulse." Dr. Wright opened another file on her laptop. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the psychological profiles of our successful commanders. They all share one trait. They ignore established military doctrine when the situation requires it. Captain Carter fired nuclear missiles at point-blank range, which should have destroyed his own ship. Commander Mitchell used mining explosives as weapons, which no military manual would ever recommend." Admiral Collins nodded slowly. "And that unpredictability is what makes our attacks effective." "Exactly. The Void Seekers have been fighting the Galactic Council for months. They've learned to counter every standard tactic, every advanced weapon system, every defensive strategy, but they've never encountered humans before." The communication system chimed again. This time it was Captain Kate Robinson calling from the front lines. Her ship, the UES Ranger, was part of a patrol group monitoring the outer colonies. "Admiral, we've got another Void Seeker formation approaching the Darwin system. 12 ships, same configuration as the ones Captain Carter engaged. Request permission to intercept." Admiral Collins looked at Dr. Wright, who nodded enthusiastically. "Permission granted, Captain. But I want full sensor logs of everything that happens." "Understood, sir. We'll make them pay for what they did to our colonies." The transmission ended, leaving the Admiral alone with his thoughts and Dr. Wright's data. Through his office window, he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue marble. Somewhere out there, alien species with technology beyond human understanding were discovering that sometimes the old ways were better than the new ways. His door chimed, and Lieutenant Ben Clark entered with a stack of reports. "Sir, we've received communication requests from the Viridian Crystal Assembly, the Karathi Collective, and the Netherian Gas Dancers. They all want to discuss human military capabilities." Dr. Wright smiled for the first time in days. "Word is spreading, Admiral. The aliens are starting to realize that maybe they were wrong about us." Admiral Collins stood and walked to his window. "Emma, I want you to prepare a complete analysis of all our engagements with the Void Seekers. Include tactical recommendations, weapon specifications, and training protocols. If the aliens want to know how we do it, we'll show them." "Sir, are we sure we want to share our military secrets?" The Admiral thought about the converted planets, the dead colonies, and the millions of beings who had already died in the Void Seeker attacks. "The galaxy is facing extinction, Emma. This isn't the time to worry about military secrets." Dr. Wright began typing on her laptop. "I'll have the full report ready in 6 hours. Should I include the psychological profiles of our commanders?" "Include everything. If we're going to beat these things, everyone needs to understand that sometimes the best solution is the one that makes no sense." As Dr. Wright worked, Admiral Collins watched the stars through his window. Each point of light represented a world that might already be under attack. But for the first time since the crisis began, he felt hope. Humanity had something that no other species possessed: the willingness to try anything, no matter how crazy it seemed. His communication system chimed once more. Captain Robinson's voice filled the room, excited and triumphant. "Admiral, the Darwin system is secure. We destroyed all 12 Void Seeker ships using a combination of railgun fire and conventional explosives. The enemy formation scattered after the first 3 ships went down. I think word is getting back to their main force, that humans are dangerous." Admiral Collins smiled. "Outstanding work, Captain. Return to base and prepare a full debriefing." Dr. Wright looked up from her laptop. "Admiral, I just realized something important. The Void Seekers aren't just losing because our weapons are primitive. They're losing because our thinking is primitive. We don't follow the rules that advanced civilizations use for warfare." "What do you mean?" "Every species in the Galactic Council has similar military philosophies. They use energy weapons because they're efficient. They employ defensive shields because they provide maximum protection. They follow established tactics because they've been proven to work. But humans don't care about efficiency or established tactics. We care about results." Admiral Collins nodded as understanding dawned. "So when the Void Seekers adapted to counter Council military thinking, they never considered that someone might approach warfare completely differently." "Exactly. We're not just using different weapons. We're using different minds." 3 weeks after the first human victory against the Void Seekers, Ambassador Jake Morrison found himself walking through the same massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. This time, however, the atmosphere was completely different. Instead of dismissive laughter, he heard urgent whispers in dozens of alien languages. Instead of condescending smiles, he saw worried faces and nervous gestures. Admiral Pete Collins walked beside him, his dress uniform displaying ribbons and medals that suddenly carried real meaning to the assembled aliens. Behind them came General Amy Foster and Intelligence Director Nick Palmer, both carrying classified briefings that every species in the galaxy wanted to see. Council Leader Vorthan stood as they approached the central podium. His 6 arms moved in what Jake now recognized as a formal greeting gesture among his people. "Ambassador Morrison, Admiral Collins, we welcome you back to the Council chambers. We have called this emergency session to discuss what recent events have revealed about human military capabilities." Jake activated the translation device and looked up at the alien representatives. 3 weeks ago, they had laughed at his request for humanity to join the Advanced Defense Coalition. Now they were the ones making requests. "Honored representatives," Jake began, "we appreciate your invitation to return. We understand that the Void Seeker situation has continued to develop." The Viridian Prime Speaker leaned forward, her crystal body flickering with nervous energy. "Ambassador Morrison, our intelligence services have confirmed that human vessels have successfully engaged Void Seeker forces on multiple occasions. We would like to understand how this is possible." Admiral Collins stepped forward and activated his holographic display. Images of human ships and weapons appeared in the air around the podium. "The answer is simpler than you might expect. Our weapons work because they're different from yours, not because they're better." A collective murmur ran through the chamber. Unit 47 of the Karathi Collective spoke next, its mechanical voice betraying what might have been confusion. Admiral Collins, human weapons are based on primitive kinetic and chemical principles. How can such technology be effective against enemies that have defeated our most advanced battle fleets? General Foster stepped up to answer. The Void Seekers have adaptive technology that learns to counter energy-based attacks. But our kinetic weapons and chemical explosives create chaotic patterns that their systems can't predict or adapt to. It's like trying to solve a math problem when the numbers keep changing randomly. Intelligence Director Palmer added his own analysis. Our recent engagements suggest that the Void Seekers have been studying Galactic Council military doctrine for months. They know how to counter your tactics because your tactics follow logical patterns. Human tactics don't always follow logic. The chamber fell silent as the implications of this statement sank in. The Netherian representative, floating in its tank of glowing gas, spoke in harmonics that the translator converted to words. Are you suggesting that your military success comes from being irrational? Admiral Collins smiled slightly. Not irrational, just unpredictable. When Captain Kate Robinson encountered a Void Seeker formation last week, she ordered her crew to fire explosive-tipped arrows from makeshift ballistic launchers. It worked because the alien adaptation algorithms didn't recognize arrows as weapons. More murmurs filled the chamber. The insect-like Zephyrian delegate clicked its mandibles in what Jake had learned was their equivalent of nervous laughter. Admiral Collins, Vorthan said carefully, the Council would like to propose a joint operation. We believe that combining human tactics with Council resources might prove effective against the Void Seeker threat. Jake looked at Admiral Collins, who nodded slightly. This was the moment they had been waiting for. We would be honored to participate in joint operations, Jake replied. However, we would need command authority over tactical decisions during engagements. The request caused an immediate stir among the alien representatives. For thousands of years, the Galactic Council had operated under the assumption that more advanced species should lead less advanced ones. The idea of humans commanding alien forces challenged their fundamental beliefs about civilization and progress. The Viridian Prime Speaker conferred quickly with her advisors before responding. This is highly irregular, but given recent developments, we are willing to consider it. 2 days later, Captain Kate Robinson stood on the bridge of the UES Ranger and looked at the mixed fleet assembled around her. Viridian crystal ships floated, alongside human destroyers. Karathi mechanical vessels moved in formation with converted human cargo haulers armed with railguns. Netherian gas-based fighters drifted between conventional human fighters armed with missiles and machine guns. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Ben Clark, worked at a station modified to interface with alien communication systems. Captain, all ships report ready. The Viridian energy weapons specialists are standing by, and the Netherian navigators have plotted our approach course. What about the Karathi Battle Analysis Unit? Kate asked. They're providing real-time tactical assessments, but they keep questioning our weapon choices. Unit 23 wants to know why we're using chemical explosives instead of plasma charges. Kate smiled. Tell Unit 23 that chemical explosives work better because the Void Seekers don't expect them. The joint fleet moved toward the Kepler 438 system, where Void Seeker forces had been detected massing for another attack. As they approached the target area, Dr. Maria Santos transmitted her analysis from the UES Defiance. Captain Robinson, sensor data indicates 12 Void Seeker vessels in the system. They appear to be preparing to convert the inhabited planet below. Kate studied the tactical display and made her decision. All ships, this is Ranger Actual. We're going to try something new. Human vessels will engage with kinetic weapons while alien vessels provide support and distraction. Whatever you do, don't follow standard attack patterns. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. Kate's fleet approached the Void Seekers, using tactics that violated every principle of space warfare. Ships broke formation randomly, fired weapons in seemingly chaotic patterns, and used maneuvers that should have been suicide runs. The Void Seekers, accustomed to fighting disciplined Council fleets, could not adapt to the human approach. When their adaptive systems tried to counter railgun fire, Kate ordered her ships to switch to conventional missiles. When the aliens adjusted to explosives, human vessels began firing solid metal slugs from modified mining equipment. Lieutenant Clark coordinated with the alien ships, using their advanced sensors and energy weapons to support the chaotic human attacks. Captain, the Viridian ships are reporting massive damage to the enemy formation. The Karathi vessels are providing excellent targeting data. As the last Void Seeker ship was destroyed, Kate received congratulations from her alien allies. But the most important message came from Admiral Collins back on Earth. Outstanding work, Captain. Council representatives are requesting immediate expansion of joint operations. It seems they're finally beginning to understand that sometimes the best technology is the one that doesn't make sense. Kate looked at her mixed fleet of human and alien vessels and realized that everything had changed. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations were now following the lead of a species they had dismissed as primitive just weeks before. Lieutenant Clark, set course for our next patrol sector. I have a feeling the Void Seekers are about to learn that humans don't fight fair, and we're proud of it. 3 months after the first human engagement with the Void Seekers, Ambassador Jake Morrison stood once again at the central podium of the Galactic Council chamber. This time, however, the vast amphitheater was completely silent. No whispered conversations, no dismissive gestures, no alien laughter. Every representative sat motionless as holographic displays showed the final battle statistics. Admiral Pete Collins stepped forward and activated the main presentation system. Numbers and images filled the air around the podium, each one telling the same incredible story. Human-led operations had successfully defended 47 worlds, destroyed 12 major Void Seeker hive ships, and for the first time in the entire conflict, forced the alien invaders into full retreat from 2 complete star systems. Honored representatives, Admiral Collins began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation system. What you are seeing is the complete record of human military engagement with the Void Seeker forces. These numbers have been verified by your own ships and sensors. Captain Alex Carter and Colonel Ryan Burke flanked the Admiral, both wearing dress uniforms that showed the wear of recent combat. Their presence served as a reminder that these victories had not come easily or without risk. Jake looked up at the assembled aliens and saw something he had never expected to see in their faces. Respect. The Viridian Prime Speaker no longer sparkled with amusement. The Karathi delegates sat perfectly still, their mechanical forms processing data that challenged their understanding of warfare. Even the massive council leader Vorthan seemed smaller. Somehow, his 6 arms held close to his body in what Jake had learned was a gesture of serious attention. The tactical analysis reveals 3 key factors in human military success, Admiral Collins continued. First, technological diversity. While your species have optimized single weapon systems for maximum efficiency, humans maintain multiple competing technologies. When Void Seekers adapt to our railguns, we switch to missiles. When they counter our missiles, we use chemical explosives. When they adapt to explosives, we fire solid metal slugs. Dr. Maria Santos transmitted additional data from her research station. Charts appeared showing how human fleets consistently maintained offensive capability even when individual weapon systems were compromised. Second, the Admiral continued, tactical unpredictability. Human commanders routinely ignore established military doctrine when circumstances require it. We have documented cases of human ships firing nuclear weapons at point-blank range, using mining equipment as artillery, and employing arrows as anti-ship weapons. A ripple of what might have been disbelief passed through the alien representatives. The concept of deliberately ignoring proven military principles was foreign to species that had spent millennia perfecting their approaches to warfare. Colonel Burke stepped forward to address this point. What your military academies teach as proper tactics, we call suggestions. Human Marines are trained to improvise and adapt. When our primary weapons fail, we use whatever is available. Chemical explosives, metal pipes, even rocks if necessary. The B chamber remained silent as the implications of this philosophy became clear. Every species in the Galactic Council approached problems by finding the most efficient solution and standardizing it across their entire military. Humans approached problems by trying everything until something worked. Third, Admiral Collins said, constructive stubbornness. Human forces continue fighting with whatever tools are available rather than retreating when primary systems fail. This psychological trait has proven crucial in several engagements. Jake activated his own display, showing testimonials from alien military officers who had witnessed human tactics firsthand. Commander Tekvar of the Korathi appeared on the screen, his mechanical voice struggling to convey emotions his species rarely expressed. Human Marines armed with chemical explosives accomplished in 2 hours what my cybernetic assault forces could not achieve in 3 days. They did not retreat when their advanced weapons failed. They did not request support when their tactics proved insufficient. They simply continued attacking using methods that should not have been effective. The next testimony came from Viridian Fleet Admiral Quintess, her crystal form flickering with what Jake now recognized as confusion. I watched human engineers repair a defensive grid using spare parts, metal tape, and principles that violate several laws of physics. When I asked how such repairs were possible, they told me that the laws of physics were more like guidelines. More testimonials followed, each one describing human actions that defied conventional military wisdom, yet achieved impossible results. Alien officers spoke of watching human crews jury-rig weapons from broken equipment, develop new tactics during active combat, and continue fighting long after any reasonable force would have surrendered. When the testimonials ended, the chamber fell into complete silence. Jake looked around at the alien representatives and saw something that filled him with both pride and sadness. These advanced civilizations had achieved wonders that humanity could barely comprehend, but they had also lost something important in the process: the willingness to try impossible things. Council leader Vorthan finally spoke, his voice subdued and thoughtful. Ambassador Morrison, Admiral Collins, the evidence you have presented challenges our fundamental assumptions about military effectiveness and technological progress. The Viridian Prime speaker added her own observation. For thousands of years, we have believed that advancement meant optimization, efficiency, and standardization. Your species suggests that advancement might also mean maintaining diversity, unpredictability, and the willingness to ignore established wisdom. Unit 47 of the Korathi Collective processed data for several moments before speaking. Human military philosophy appears to be based on the principle that any problem can be solved if one is willing to try enough different approaches. This contradicts our belief that problems should be solved by finding the single best approach. Jake felt the moment had arrived for his final statement. Honored representatives, 3 months ago you laughed when we requested membership in the Advanced Defense Coalition. You were right that our technology is primitive compared to yours. You were right that our weapons are based on outdated principles. You were right that our tactics violate established military doctrine. He paused to let the words sink in before continuing. But you were wrong about what that meant. Sometimes the primitive approach works better than the advanced one. Sometimes the outdated principle is more effective than the modern one. Sometimes violating doctrine is exactly what the situation requires. Admiral Collins stepped forward with the final piece of evidence. Representatives, I have one more thing to share with you. As of this morning, our long-range sensors have detected Void Seeker forces beginning a full withdrawal from the galactic rim. They appear to be retreating entirely from this region of space. The announcement hit the chamber like a physical blow. For months, the Void Seekers had seemed unstoppable, advancing steadily through systems defended by the galaxy's most powerful fleets. Now they were running away from a species that had only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. The threat that brought our galaxy to its knees, Jake said quietly, has been neutralized not by superior technology or ancient wisdom, but by the simple human tendency to try anything that might work, regardless of whether it should work. Vorthan stood slowly, his 6 arms moving in the formal gesture that indicated a momentous decision. Ambassador Morrison, Admiral Collins, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally request that humanity accept full membership in the Advanced Defense Coalition with immediate command authority over all anti-Void Seeker operations. The vote that followed was unanimous. As the session concluded, Jake reflected on the strange turn of events that had brought humanity from the edge of dismissal to the center of galactic defense. The Council had laughed at their motion 3 months ago. The evidence had indeed silenced them. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned something valuable about the nature of advancement and progress. Sometimes the best solution was not the most sophisticated one. Sometimes the most effective approach was the one that made no sense to anyone else. As Jake and his team prepared to leave the chamber, Admiral Collins made one final observation. You know, Jake, I think we've taught them something important today. Being advanced doesn't mean having all the answers. It means being willing to keep looking for new ones. Outside the chamber windows, stars twinkled in the void where void-seeker ships once threatened the peace of the galaxy. Humanity had found its place among those stars not by becoming like the other species, but by remaining uniquely, stubbornly, impossibly human.